Hi everyone, this is Korosh Erfani, and today is Thursday, March 5th, 2026. We are going to discuss war, of course, and different aspects of the current conflict. We will see if we can make sense of what's going on or not. Let me start with some facts. The first one is we know that at the starting point of this war, the United States was not ready for such a thing. So it looks like that the war has been started in a hurry, and United States had to rush into the war, and that's why right now we have a lot of issues for the American side, even though there was a preparation from long time ago. So let me emphasize on some factors and some elements that can help us to understand the degree of precipitation of the United States into this war, and that's why this aspect of a lack of preparedness could cost a lot for the United States. Starting with why the United States is in this war. You remember, from the day one, we started to have different narratives, right? This version is changing, let's say, if not hour by hour, but day by day. Every and each day we have a new version, starting with what was necessary to do, giving us the rationale regarding imminent risk of the Iranian activity, nuclear activity. We saw that this is nonsense. Then Marco Rubio came to say that it was because anyway Israel was going to war and the United States had to follow, The day after they changed this version and told us that no, it was not the case. That was a very serious assessment according to which Iran was going to attack us preemptively, and that's why we had to act. All right. The day after, we got Trump by saying that I pushed Israel effectively to start, So we have a lot of rationals, reasoning, and explanation. Even you remember Witkoff came to tell us that during the negotiation, Iranian side told us that we have enough uranium, enriched uranium, to start building something like 11 nuclear bombs, which was not true at all. So this change of narratives is telling us that the United States is being dragged into this war by Israel, right? And this is the first sign that we can see that in this country, in the United States, there is no independence of decision. The decision-making process in the United States is totally dependent or a dependent variable, we can say, of what Israel wants. So that's why this country, with all its might and greatness and everything, is just a vessel, right? A servant state of Israel and nothing else. So that's the first point. The second was regarding the duration of this operation, right? Because they started to say that this is just a special operation. It's not war. It's a military operation, and it will take a few hours, and that's all. So they tried to imitate actually what they did in June 2025 by bombing, 3 different nuclear facilities in Iran. They wanted to do something alike, but a little bigger, a little more serious, by, for example, getting rid of the Iranian leadership and some other centers, military, nuclear, the things like that. But we saw that's not the case. We saw that this operation became immediately a real war, a military conflict that doesn't have any perspective of end for now. In the sixth day, we don't have any idea about when this conflict will be finished. So regarding the timing and the duration, same thing that we got for the narrative. For the narrative was, every day one or two different versions in order to create the confusion, because the decision had been taken outside the United States, right? The decision had been taken in Tel Aviv by the military and political body of Israel. And then the United States just had been informed about the fact that we are going to start and had to follow. That's all. Same thing for timing. The United States doesn't have any idea. The Americans don't have any idea about when this operation, this war, or whatsoever will finish. So that's why at the beginning they started by telling us that it will last a few hours, right? A few hours. They brought some generals to tell us that with our superiority over the Iranian military forces, it's a matter of a few hours. Okay. Then we saw the transformation of hours into days, a few days. All right, how many days? So they were talking about 4 days. All right, that the second version. And a few days later, they came and said that, no, at least 2 weeks. We need at least 2 weeks, and we will see. Trump started to talk about even 4 weeks, 4 weeks. So then yesterday, Peter Hegseth, from the War Department, right, the Secretary of War Department came and said that no, in a matter of maybe 8 months, 8 weeks. It could take 4 weeks or more, or 8. But now we have a very good news, guys. Now we have the Pentagon coming and talking about the necessity of something like the end of September. So we are talking about almost 6 months from now on, in order to have effectively the maybe the theoretical end of this war. But I would like to underline the fact that as we saw for the versions and the narrative, here the same thing. We must not really have any trust in what they are saying. It could be a few days, a few weeks, a few months, a few years. Nobody knows. But look at that. U.S. Central Command, meanwhile, is asking the Pentagon to send more military intelligence officers to its headquarters in Tampa, Florida, to support operation against Iran for at least 100 days, but likely through September. So we are March. Month 3, they are talking about month 9, 6 months at least. Most probably, according to Politico, we should wait for the end of this little restricted, limited military operation. So, no timing, no scope of time. A few days, from a few days to a few months or years, I don't know. Those who remember how the things unfolded for the Vietnam War, can now understand that we are most probably in the same quagmire, right? In the same swamp. So it's the same case. United States is getting more and more involved under the orders of Israel, of course, and in the absence of any strategy, the war can goes on and goes on and goes on. And I am going to explain why it is very not really probable for having a long-term war, but let's keep in mind that there is no evaluation. Why? Because there was no strategy, there was no preparation. This is a war that had been initiated by Israel, and the United States had been dragged into, and that's all it is. From a few hours to a few years, let's say. Now, there is another aspect. The first, change of narratives. The second, change of timing. And the third one, about the cost. The United States doesn't have any idea about how much it will cost such a thing. For now, from the 6th day of war, we start to have just a few numbers. For example, now we know that for the first 100 hours of the operation, something like more than 3 billion, between 3.1 to 3.2 billion dollars had been spent just for 100 hours. The people are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't know, maybe even a few $billion just for preparation, getting anything ready for. But the operation itself, $3 billion till now for the first 100 hours. And the calculations are telling us, the estimations, let's say, are telling us that we are going to have, in average, something like $1 billion per day for the United States, for the American taxpayers, right? $1 billion per day. So 6 days, $6 billion right now, because the people are talking about direct military costs for over $5 billion. That was the estimation in March 2. We are now March 5th. Most probably this $5 billion is now something between $6, $7, $8 billion. Just for a few days. But don't forget that usually the calculation is done based on what has been spent for the first, the second, the fourth day. But we know we cannot calculate it in this way. We know that it's incremental, it's exponential, right? We are going to have more and more, which means that after 2 weeks, for example, instead of having just an average of $1 billion per day, we can have 1.2, 1.3, nobody knows. Because there are a lot of losses, right? Till now, we know that 3 F-15 jets had been down. So each of them is around $90 million. So they are talking about $351 million for just these 3 cases, more or less. Now, there are the long-term estimation. For the long term, let me give you a few numbers. These are just the projection, right? We don't know exactly how it will be. But projected total direct budgetary cost for now, for a limited conflict, which means in a few weeks, is just 40 to 95 billion dollars. And don't forget that we are talking about a war that had been not been included in the 2016 budget, right? So which means Congress has to find the extra sources in order to provide more and more extra for the $1 trillion dollar budget of Pentagon for 2026. But there is some other cases where it's a matter of broader economic losses, for anything that the United States is doing over there. And the people are talking about something between 50 to 210 billion dollars. The midpoint estimate, if you want, is 115 billion dollars. So just to ease the understanding of the numbers, let's say we are going to have something between 100 to 200 billion dollars for a long-term conflict. And long-term, I mean a few weeks, maybe a few months, right? Now, is it all? No, it's not all. We have to continue to calculate. For example, for the Zionist entity, the enemy of humanity, Israel, we have to talk about something like $3 billion already as damage. $3 billion for just 5 days, right? So the calculation is telling us that with the reduced restrictions could bring about something like $1.3 billion of damage per week. But don't forget that the Iranian side announced that now we depleted all our old missiles, right? The limited one. And from now on, we start with the new generation of our missiles, which is much more damaging, destructive. And of course, this number can increasingly be more than that. So we can talk about something like $2 to $3 billion per week just for damages. I am not talking about the cost of any other operation, because as you know, Israel now opened a new front in southern Lebanon, and now there is extra cost for completely destroying Lebanon, and then most probably boots on the ground over there. I don't know, occupying maybe the southern Lebanon. All of these, in terms of billions, will be on the shoulders of the Israeli economy. But let me also talk about something much more important. The damage, the material and financial damage for the Arab countries. We are talking about the Persian Gulf Arab countries, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman. So all these countries are now suffering from something extremely serious, which is the case of having their economy completely in shambles, we can say. Why? Because according to some estimations, we must be ready for something that will cost between, according to just the minimal $1 billion per day for the damages. So it includes the lack of oil export, lack of tourism, right? The absence of the normal function for the airports over there, etc. So now we can have an idea about the whole thing, for the Arab countries, for short term, mid term, long term, and we can be sure that we are talking about something really, really serious. Let me tell you something about an official statement that had been announced today by some of these Arab countries of the Persian Gulf: Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Qatar. They published a joint statement, and they are talking about the new situation, okay? And they are telling us that they cannot have the regular income on a daily basis as before, and that's why they had to review some of their projections and promises regarding investment here and there in order to alleviate some of the anticipated economic strain from the current war. So in other terms, it means that we cannot fulfill the promises that we gave to other countries, including the United States, including Mr. Trump. You remember Trump, through his trip in the Persian Gulf, and by visiting this country, got the promises of a lot of investment. And when he came back, he said that here you are, the Americans, the happy Americans. You can experience the happiness because I brought you from the Arab countries the promises of something like $7 trillion of investment. Because we got later $1 trillion of Saudi Arabia, so something like between $5 to $7 trillion promises, which means that if everything is okay, if the global economy is working well, and essentially if there is no war, right, there is no more destruction, there is no more conflict in the region, then we can come and invest in your country trillions and trillions. And Trump was happy. And he was very proud because he could effectively market some $1 trillion of investment in the United States. At that time, I remember in my videos and TV programs, articles, I said that this is just wishful thinking. The reason for which I said that was exactly what's happening right now because of Israel. I said that it's impossible that Israel let such a thing happen, because if there are really trillions of dollars invested in the United States by the Arab countries, the United States will have some kind of engagement or seriousness for protecting these investments, right? But Israel doesn't want that. Israel doesn't want any kind of prosperity and development for any other country but itself. In the world, we are talking about 200 countries. Israel wants 199 countries in underdeveloped, in affliction, in crisis, or any other, misery that you can imagine, in order to have everything for itself, including the United States, and maybe especially the United States, because we are at a time where Israel has this impression that it has everything now. It doesn't need any more this, chicken gold egg for what? For as an impediment, preventing Israel to do whatever it wants? No. That's why now it's time to kill the golden egg chicken, right? And this is what they are doing. So, just one important point. Don't forget that we are talking about a region from which something like 20% of oil and gas of the global energy market is provided. 20%. Okay? So, as right now the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and it's possible that this closure will be for long term, because we got the news according to which the different oil companies and the countries that own them told the United States that they are not ready really to go with the escort of the American Navy over there. They don't want that. Okay? So what does it mean? It means that those countries are not really happy with what is happening right now in the Persian Gulf and in the Strait of Hormuz, and that's why they are not really paying attention to the different suggestion of the United States in order to bring something, let's say, normal in a normal situation. They don't believe that really. There is no normality right now, and they don't want really risk their asset with just a promise of the United States president, according to which you can come and we will escort you and you will be safe. Nobody wants that. Nobody believes in that. So that's the reason why they are not there. And here you can see that's the case. We have here the U.S. Energy Minister told Fox News that the oil tankers are refusing Trump's offer to escort them through the Strait of Hormuz. No ship has yet accepted the U.S. Navy's offer to escort through the Strait of Hormuz. What does it mean? It means that right now the oil is at almost $85, right? And the people are, the specialists are projecting to have a $100 per barrel very soon, in a few days. So I remind you that some analysts have been saying that if there is a chance for a return point for the United States from being involved in a long-term war, it's now, it's today. They were talking about the possibility of doing that in 2 days, yesterday and or today and tomorrow, because tomorrow is Friday. We saw the reaction of the stock market to this possibility of having an endless war, and that's why that was a really dark day in Dow Jones, in the American stock market in general. Today, as you can see, the people are talking about something like $2,200,000,000,000 dollars wiped out completely from all this U.S. stock market today. We should know that every 1% of decrease, negative, anything negative in the Dow Jones for percentage, if you want to have an idea, for 1%, you can imagine something between 100 to $200 billion, right? This is the minimum. And for the S&P 500, they are talking about something between 3 to 5 for 1%. They are talking about 300 to 400 billion dollars, and if it's the case, so we can have something like just this during this week, not including tomorrow, Friday, because I am recording it on Thursday, something like $1 trillion from Monday, till now. It's a matter of almost $1 trillion lost. And tell me, what's the really the carrying capacity of the American economy? How many $1 trillion and the stock market can see, wiping out day after day or week after week. So that's why we are going to have, because it's just 6 days, we are not talking about even 1 week of war, and we are already here with a lot of financial, economic, political earthquakes, right? For the Trump administration. Now, these are just the short-term damages that we are talking about, because, as I told you, we are just in the 6th day of the conflict. But let's see more seriously what happened and how it's going to have the long-term, irreparable damages for American status. I am talking about the American status across the world, financially, economically, politically, geopolitically, diplomatically. So let's see. The first thing, this is not a normal war. You remember in all my videos in the last weeks and months, I was telling that either we are going to have a no war, peace, negotiation, something like that, or if there is a war, this war could not be limited, could not be a normal conventional war. Why I said so? Because I knew that such a war will be an existential war. Right? You cannot go toward a country that, let me show you something that is very interesting for just giving you an idea about how big Iran is compared to some elements, geographic elements, so that you can have an idea about the hugeness of this country. This is Iran within the United States, just to give you an idea about how many states can be covered by the superficie of Iran. We can see that also with other comparison. For example, it's compared here with some other elements. Iran is about 79 times bigger than Israel. Okay, here you can compare that. Iran is half India. India is just 2 times more or bigger than Iran. Iran is 4 times bigger than Iraq. Right? The whole Europe is just 6 times larger than Iran. So we are talking about a huge country, and with almost 93 million people. And what is important is you are talking about the oldest civilization on earth. You are not talking about a little country. No, you are not talking about Venezuela, and that you can do anything you want with, right? Going there and kidnapping its president, or this kind of spectacle. You are talking about a serious country, the oldest country, So if you go there, you are sending this message that we are coming for your existence, for your being, for your entirety. This is a serious message for the Iranians, not for the Iranian government, but because, as I told you in my last day video, it's not a matter of getting rid of the Iranian regime. The idea is getting rid of any regime in Iran in such a way that Iran can become stateless and then divided, partitioned, completely disintegrated, so that Israel can dominate where there are waters, oil, gas, minerals, and so on. That's the idea of Israel regarding disintegration of this big country. All right. When you launch an existential war, when the war is a real existential threat for the entity, the whole entity starts to make a decision. And the decision is very clear. Either you accept to surrender, to give up, and you become just the slave of Israel, for example, in this case, right? We are talking about the slavery. You can have an idea about how the United States is a slave country of Israel. And I am going to explain why I call the United States a slave country of Zionism or Israel. But for the Iranians, the things are different, because the Iranians have a lot of historical experiences in this matter. They had been attacked in the frame of the existential threat by a lot of invaders, like the Alexander, right? The Alexander the Great came over there in order to erase completely the Persian civilization. He couldn't, and it had been absorbed by the Iranian culture. Later, the Arabs came over there with the exact intention of erasing, the Persian civilization. They couldn't. And just after 200, 300 years after, they have been also absorbed, integrated completely in the Iranian culture. Then came the ancestors, the grandfathers of Netanyahu, the Khazarid, the Mongols, right? The Genghis Khan. They came to Iran. These are the ancestors of the real Zionists, the type of Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir. They are Mongols, don't forget that. They made some change in their racial aspect, but originally they are all belonging to these Mongols, the Genghis Khan. The Genghis Khan is actually the great ancestor of Netanyahu. All right, they came also to Iran in order to vanish completely our civilization, but they couldn't. And we know what kind of battle it is, the existential battle. We know that. We, the Iranians, know exactly what are the particularities of such a war, such a battle. And that's why, historically, in our memory, in our collective memory, we know the things that no nation on earth knows, right? And we know how to adapt ourselves to the worst situation so that we can resist. So that's why the whole world are talking about, Iranian as a resilient, persistent, and resistant nation. We know how to be resilient. We know how to survive. So now that, according to a Zionist miscalculation, this war had been triggered, it cannot be ended with a ceasefire or something like that. There is no any more chance for ceasefire. As I told you, some analysts were talking about the only possibility for having a turning point, a return point today and tomorrow, with the Friday and the stock market, the reaction of the stock market, because we know if tomorrow we have a very bad situation for the Dow Jones, S&P 500 and Nasdaq, we are going to be set for having not a red week but a dark black week for next Monday, right? So that's why they were telling us that, Mr. President, please do something. I can tell you, Economist published today something very interesting, talking about, Mr. President, please stop this war. The Economist, the famous British magazine, the economic British magazine, they were telling us that do something, please. Why? They were giving several rationals, arguments. For example, the operational success is enough, the decapitation, and now you are aware that you are going to fail politically and strategically if you continue. And as clear as, anything else. So they are telling us that you wanted to decapitate in order to make the regime collapse, but as you see, it's not the case. And right now, a council of 3 persons, is governing and managing the country. So that's why they are talking about regime's resilience and adaptability. It's not only regime, that's the particularity of the Iranian, that's the specificity of the Iranian culture, to be resilient, to be adaptable, to be flexible, to adjust to any situation. Nobody can do that, but we learned during several thousands of tumultuous, variable history, ups and downs. We learned that, and we know how to do so. So the Iranian regime, as a part of, the elements of this culture, can do that also. So they are talking about many reasons for which they ask. The title is this one: Donald Trump must stop soon. Must stop soon. But I think it's too late. Why? There is a simple reason. It's not Donald Trump that can make the decision. How stupid could be the Economist board or those who wrote this letter, to ignore or to feign ignoring that the United States is just a vessel, a servant, a mercenary of Israel. They don't know that. They know perfectly. I don't know. That's a facade. That's just a show off. Hearing that, we said that. We did that. We did our ethical, journalistic, political responsibility. We said to Donald Trump to stop. But Donald Trump is nothing. Donald Trump is a puppet. The whole Trump administration is just some employees of the Zionist network. They are servants of Israel. They cannot make any independent decision. Otherwise, Epstein file and a lot of other levers of pressure will be, over their head. So that's why the United States is involved in an existential threat for Iran. And this war is an all-out war, a total war for the Iranians. You know what they are going to do? Imagine at a given moment, it's just today or tomorrow, it's impossible, it will be impossible anymore to make anything that can stop war. ceasefire, negotiations, or whatsoever. From that moment, we are in a no return point of this process. Can you imagine, just in the 6th or 7th day of we don't know how long, we will be there. So from that moment, with all that I said you in the first part of my presentation regarding the damages, the economic, financial, political damages to the United States and the economy and for the region's economy and so on. So what we are going to, just to a worsening process that cannot be stopped. Incrementally more destructive, more violent, more aggressive, and at a given moment, I don't have any doubt that we will have the paradigm shifting event. Let me give you an example. From a few hours ago, the Iranians started to target Israel with a new generation of missiles, as I told you. They are using the Khorramshahr missiles, and the particularity of these missiles are that they are with the multiple warhead. So once they are in the sky of Tel Aviv or here and there in Israel, the warheads are partitioned into multiple ones. The Iranians themselves are talking about 80 warheads, 80 warheads. So which means that if the whole thing is not neutralized before, when it starts effectively to send these 80 warheads, it's impossible to do whatever. And it can damage, and it can really act as something extremely problematic for Israelis. I am pretty sure that after the usage of this missile several times and getting closer and closer to the sensitive areas like for example, the power facilities, right? The refineries, the oil facilities, and even as Iranians already threatened toward the nuclear facilities of Israel, including the famous Dimona. So if they get close to that, Israel will have a really serious matter to take care of, which will be facing this reality that they cannot defend themselves, despite the fact that the United States, United Kingdom, France, all the Arab countries, their famous Iron Dome, and so on, are protecting them, but they will see that not only they cannot neutralize all the firepower of Iranians, but also there is a huge risk of having a nuclear explosion over there, a nuclear incident that will put an end to the existence of a country called Israel. So, what would be the reaction of Israel, you think? Yeah, I am pretty sure that you have this guess that they will attack with nuclear bomb. They will attack Iran with the nuclear weapon. This is what is going to happen. That's the mechanism. They cannot really stop the war. The continuation will put in question the existence of the Iranian regime. The Iranian regime doesn't have anything, won't have anything to lose, so it will attack the centers and the points in Israel that can cause the end of the existence of Israel, entirety of Israel. And from that moment, of course, Israel either preemptively or in response to such an attack will strike Iran with nuclear warhead missile, and we will be entering at that moment, at that exact moment, the first atomic explosion in Iran happens in the new era of nuclear war. A nuclear war. We can be sure because we have already the indication coming from Russia, China, Russia, North Korea, but officially today we got this statement coming from the Russian foreign minister Lavrov, talking about what? Talking about this. Look at the formulation, it's very interesting. Saying that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has issued a bombshell warning. Russia will do everything in its power to create conditions where continued US and Israeli military strikes on Iran become completely impossible. So we are talking about a real strategic decision that had been done at the top level of the Russian government in order to do something that can stop, these strikes, or let's say this aggression against Iran. So what could be? I am telling you, with such a purportedness by Russia, China, North Korea, and on the other hand, Pakistan, we can be sure that they will intervene directly in this war if Israel attacks Iran with the nuclear weapon. As I told you, that would be the starting point of the nuclear war globally. I am pretty sure that North Korea and Pakistan will react, Russia will react, China will intervene. United States has to do something for the European countries, United Kingdom and France, as the nuclear powers will come, NATO will come, and then we are going to have not only a regional war but an international conflict. And let's be frank and straightforward, we are going to have the nuclear third world war. I told you that such a war will be the end of life on Earth, the end of life on our planet. How far we are from this darky, murky, gloomy, catastrophic scenario, let me tell you my prediction. We could be far from the starting point of this view, between a few days to a few weeks. Today, the Americans were telling us that we have reduced already the firepower of Iranian for launching the missiles compared to the first day, something like 80%. What does it mean? It means that for the Iranian remains, on the grounds of what the Americans are telling us, just 20%. Will the Iranian government wait for losing this 20% and then to be completely erased? Do you think so? I don't think so. If such a thing is true, if such a number is true, I am pretty sure that the Iranians will use these 20% for doing a huge, irreparable, unimaginable damage to Israel, which cannot be anything but attacking the nuclear facilities of Israel, including the famous Dimona, right? So they are telling us that during 5 days they reduced the capability of the Iranian to launch missiles for 80%, right? So it means that in 2-3 days the Iranian won't be able to launch anything. So can you imagine that? I said, according to the Americans, on the grounds of what they are saying us, right? On the basis of this number, I am telling that the coming few days will be crucial. Because if it's true, the Iranian will calculate that we are going to lose our 20% remaining capacity in a few days, right? In 2-3 days. So that's why we have to precipitate, to rush, in order to do something really important, really significant, which cannot be anything but attacking Israel in its nuclear and sensitive points. And that's why preemptively, or as a reaction, Israel will use, because don't forget that Israel has something between 300, 350, 400 nuclear warhead. Okay? So, and they will use it through everything that they have across Iran. And immediately after the usage of the first nuclear bomb exploded in Iran, we are going to have the intervention of all these countries we were talking about, in a way or another. Because we didn't have anything like that in our history, in a human history. We didn't have any nuclear war. This is the first time. And Israel is going to trigger that. And once it's triggered, when it's begun, nobody can stop that. And this is not something that the different parts can tolerate. So Pakistan will intervene, North Korea will intervene. North Korea has already officially, unofficially promised that if there is such a thing, North Korea will wipe out Israel from the world map by the nuclear missiles. So, of course, the American has to answer, the Israeli has to answer to North Korea, China has to defend North Korea, and then Russia for the Iranian case. You see, easily we will be in the frame of the global atomic conflict, the nuclear World War III. So, do we have any solution? I don't see that. Now is a very late to talk about solution. The solutions were available 100 years ago, 80 years ago, from the moment we had this entity created based on occupation, terrorism, and massacres of the Palestinians in 1948. That was the moment the world had to react, right? The world should have reacted at that time, not later than that. But as we can see, it was not the case. And now we have this entity against the humanity as a threat for the whole humanity. And we will see if humanity can take care of this huge cancer of the human bodies, or on the contrary, this cancer will kill the whole humanity. We are going to know that very soon. We don't have to wait years, decades. No, very soon. Very soon. In 2026, we will be set for the fate of planet, the fate of our humanity. This is a specific year, and with the acceleration of the events, with this war and afterwards I am pretty sure that 2026 will be the year we will know if there is any chance for the survival of humanity or not. Of course, the whole process will take much more time, but this duality of having a chance for for survival or not will be determined in 2026. And that's why we are going to have a very tense months to live in the coming months, and I am trying to go through it with you with these videos. I hope that I am going to have your support for these videos by sharing your ideas, putting the comments under each videos, and also if you think that there is something useful, just spreading them, sharing them with other people so that we can have more and more reflections on this. Because if there is a solution, theoretically, that would be a collective solution, right? Solution that will come from, our collective wisdom, right? So that's why we have to activate this wisdom individually and collectively so that we can have a chance of survival. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.